let's stay in the AFC West. Russell Wilson, appearing on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, an 80-minute conversation that, as far as I could glean, was shot at Russell's home in the Denver area. Here is Russell talking to Brandon Marshall about his future at a time when it seems like it's just a matter of time before the Broncos release Russell Wilson.
I got more fire than ever, honestly, especially over the past 2 years of what I've gone through. Whether if it's in Denver or somewhere else, I hope it's in Denver. I hope I get to finish there. I committed there. I wanted to be there. I want to be there.
Hold on. You can go back to Denver, bro?
I can go back there.
You can play with Coach Payton again?
Yeah. For me, it's about winning. It's about winning. Over the next 5 years, I want to win 2. I want to feel the chill of that trophy again. So, I want to go back to Denver. I hope I get to go back.
Pittsburgh Steelers, Las Vegas Raiders, Atlanta Falcons, New England Patriots.
Well, I will put Denver 1 because I'm there right now. It's just, and I think you have to have the ability to compartmentalize.
Which you've shown.
Yeah. I think you have the ability to compartmentalize that. Listen, it's a business. You got to be also non-emotional about it too at the same time. You also know that there's ebbs and flows to it. Winning heals all wounds. To me, it's really focusing about being the best version of me, being prepared, and no matter what, you control what you can control. So my mindset right now where I am is where I am, and I'd love to be there, love to win. That's what I came there to do, is win more Super Bowls. And so if it's not there, though, I got to go to a place that we're going to win again.
Peter, here's the reality. Russell Wilson has $39 million that he is fully guaranteed to make from the Broncos this year. If he's on the roster March 17, his $37 million salary for 2025 becomes fully guaranteed. That was the heart of the kerfuffle that occurred during the 2023 season. The Broncos wanted him to delay that vesting date from March 17, 2024, presumably to at or about the same time in 2025. So they aren't on the hook for another $37 million fully guaranteed at a time when they're not 100% sure that Russell Wilson is the long-term answer. They didn't want to have to commit to another 37 when they're already committed to another 39. Wilson said no. His agent said no. And I can understand why Russell's position is, I'm a member of the Denver Broncos, because he is. But Peter, unless he's willing to push that date back a year, they're not going to keep him. They're just not going to keep him. They're not. And if it's a football decision as to why he was benched late in the season, well, that sufficiently shows lack of faith in Russell Wilson to make Sean Payton not commit to another $37 million fully guaranteed a year from now. It's just not going to happen. And I understand he's saying all the right things. The bottom line is there's no way they're going to keep him if he doesn't delay that $37 million vesting date.
Here's the thing. If I were Russell Wilson, I would want to press the issue because, Mike, the earlier you get out on the market, the better chance you have of landing a good opportunity to win a starting job next year. And look, Mike Tomlin is famously partial to Virginians, but I have no idea what that means in this case about a kid from Richmond. And if you look at all the other places where things could happen positively for Russell Wilson, listen, some of those musical chairs are going to be filled if he waits too long. He absolutely should not delay this, the payment of this. Because look, the great advantage that Russell Wilson has in 2024 is that he can go somewhere and play for whatever the number is, $1,965,000, whatever the number is.
$1.21 million.
Okay. All right. He can go and play for something that is tremendously cap advantageous to a team. So I wouldn't go to any team say, hey, let's make a 3-year deal. You pay me nothing this year and then you pay me a lot afterwards. No. I go to a team and I say, hey, look, let's do the fair thing for you and for me. Have me on your team this year. I'm not coming in demanding the starting job. Let me compete. Say to Mike Tomlin, in essence, let me just compete for this starting job with Kenny Pickett and presumably Mason Rudolph. In Atlanta, let me just compete with whoever is in your camp. Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ridder, whoever is there. Let me just compete. And so in that way, you're saying to a team, what does it cost to have Russell Wilson in camp? Nothing. I mean, it's a fantastic deal for us, and clearly he's better than what we have. So let's do it, and let's get him in now so that he can get used to the guys, so he can start throwing to the receivers, and so we can hit the ground running the second week of September.
The original analytics in football, long before it infiltrated X's and O's decisions, the reality that personnel management was driven by value. What is your value to the team? If you can get a starting quarterback for the entirety of the 2024 season at $1.21 million, knowing that he's going to stick the Broncos for the balance up to the $39 million he's going to make anyway, that makes him an attractive option. Now, Peter, I think there needs to be a leap of faith he eventually makes. Yes, he's willing to compete. He's always going to say he's willing to compete, but he's going to want to go to the place where he thinks he's going to win the competition. He needs to have a sufficient level of confidence that if it's close, they're going to go with him. They're not going to try to justify their first-round pick.
Yes.
That's the danger in Pittsburgh.
Right.
We still want to show that Kenny Pickett was the right pick. And, hey, we can always put Russell Wilson on the bench. We're only paying him $1.21 million. That's where he's got to be careful. He needs to go to the place where they're going to roll out the red carpet. I wrote that over the weekend. He needs to be confident they're rolling out the red carpet and making him the starter for 2024. But there are teams out there. I mean, the first team that came up when things went sideways between the Broncos and Russell Wilson, he got benched late in the season, the Raiders. Take $1.21 million and go to the Raiders and stick it to the Broncos. They're going to pay me the difference, and I'm going to play him twice a year. I'm going to stick it to him. And there's going to be other teams that emerge. You know, Peter, if Kirk Cousins prices himself out of Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell says, for $1.21 million, hell, I made it work with Josh Dobbs for a little while. I made it work with Nick Mullins for a little while. You give me a full offseason with Russell Wilson, who had more wins than anyone over the course of a decade, who's won a Super Bowl, I'll make it work with him for $1.21 million. So there's going to be not a ton, but there's going to be a cluster of teams that are saying, for $1.21 million, we'd be stupid not to be interested.
And you know what, Mike? The other part of this is what right now is going on in Russell Wilson's head. You know, the mind is a great motivator. And he has to be thinking to himself, okay, now I had the Seahawks when I still had some significant prime left. Toss me out. I had the Denver Broncos. Toss me out. And in essence, I had the Denver Broncos toss me out when they don't have a no doubt quarterback of the future on the roster. So this has to be tremendously motivating for Russell Wilson, and he is the kind of guy, and I've known him over the years, and he uses everything. He's like so many players in football over the years. If Tom Brady is still using the 6 quarterbacks who were drafted in front of me, obviously, you know, if the greatest of all time uses that, everybody else behind him uses the exact same stuff. You know, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar. And, you know, you heard Russell Wilson on that, Mike. You and I listened to a bunch of it. But you heard Russell Wilson say that, well, you know, they called our draft class the worst ever. And I don't even know if they did, but somebody probably gave him an F because Bobby Wagner was a lightly guarded second-round pick. Yeah. And then Russell Wilson was the 75th pick in the draft. What are you doing taking a 5'11 quarterback or whatever he is? What are you doing taking him in the 3rd round? And as it turns out, you know what one of the funniest things of all is? As it turns out, the team, the guy who was going to pick Russell Wilson, if he was still on the board with his team's next pick, is Andy Reid. And how incredibly funny is that? But anyway, be that as it may, he gets motivation just like so many athletes do from the perceived slights that have been given him and have been thrown his way, the thorns that have been thrown his way over the years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And he's going to be more motivated than ever, and he just has to pick that right spot. And Denver is not going to be that spot. I've seen some reports in recent days. Don't rule out him staying in Denver. I rule it out. I will categorically rule it out. So I mean, no, but Peter, the only way this happens is if he cries uncle and gives up the $37 million for 2025. Sean Payton does not sufficiently believe in him to be the starting quarterback, or he wouldn't have benched him while they were still alive in their chase for the postseason.
Yeah.
And, if you listen closely to some of the things he said to Brandon Marshall, it just underscores there's a lot of stuff they got to come back from. The notion that the NFL acknowledged that what they presented to him during the bye week after they beat the Chiefs for the first time in 6 years or whatever it was, longer than that, was illegal. The NFL never said it was illegal, according to the Broncos. If they would be compelled to answer that question on the record, they would say no one told us it was illegal. Russell Wilson saying that's one of those little things that makes it hard to mend fences. I think it's going to be impossible to mend this fence. He's not going to waive or delay the vesting of that guarantee by a year. The Broncos aren't going to keep him if he doesn't. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. He's going to be somewhere else. And according to DraftKings, the favorite is Pittsburgh at minus 225. Even though, and I saw you comment on this last week, Jerry Dulac reporting that the Steelers aren't interested in a quarterback with starting experience who wants to come in and start.
Yeah, crazy, what do you
I mean, if that's what they're thinking, what is wrong with that?
Nuts, man. Yeah, really, that is nuts. If that's true, that's just crazy. I have a lot of respect for Omar Khan, the general manager, and obviously for Mike Tomlin. But to think that in a division with Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Deshaun Watson, that you're comfortable entering training camp with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph battling out for the job, that's living in crazy town.
Well, and Peter, I think Art Rooney II, the team president, has his hands on the controls discreetly and not obviously. And it's easy for him, I think, to go back 50 years and say, we could have given up on Terry Bradshaw as he was trying to figure it all out, and we didn't, and it eventually paid off. It would be crazy to give up this quickly on Kenny Pickett when we drafted him to come in and be the long-term answer.
Yeah, I don't think you should give him up.
72 anymore.
Yeah, right. I definitely don't think you ought to give up on him. I don't mean that. And it could be that he'll play great in training camp and take this challenge and run with it. I think Kenny Pickett might be better than Russell Wilson, but he hasn't shown that yet. The fact is, I just don't think the reason why I say it's living in crazy town is that one of those two guys could well be a good to very good NFL quarterback. We haven't seen it yet. That's the only reason why I say I think it would be a big mistake to not bring in somebody of of the caliber of Russell Wilson. That'd be great, but it's gotta be something. Or, you've got to spend time this offseason. And I don't even mean Gardner Minshew. I mean looking for Mr. Goodbar, in the various places where you find quarterbacks. That's all I think.
Well, and I think it's a great point, too, because you bring in somebody else who's either going to push Kenny Pickett to get better, or he's going to surpass Kenny Pickett and be your answer. But it brings it all to a head. Let's not wait 4 years to figure this out. This is year 3. We need some competition. We need to get the most out of this guy. And if he's not going to reach a higher level, then we're going to go with the guy that we brought in. So we're on the same page with that. Let's take a break. When we return, Eric Bieniemy makes a surprising move. We'll break that down when this Monday edition of PFT Live continues right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.